Think about this for a moment. All of us, every single person on this planet, we all spinning through space on this tiny blue ball, and deep down, we all carrying the same weight, the same yearning. We just dress it up in different ways. Some people call it feeling alone, others call it searching for meaning. Some try to fill it with success, others with things they can buy. But when you strip everything away, all the layers and pretty words, what's left? The need to love someone and have someone love us back. It's the most human thing there is. More important than food, stronger than needing a place to live. Because you can eat until you're full, you can have a house with walls and a roof, and still feel completely hollow inside. Still feel like you're drifting through your days invisible, untouched, like nobody really knows you exist. But here's the thing, and this is where it gets really interesting. We've completely messed this up. We've taken the easiest, most natural part of being alive and twisted it into something complicated, something like a business deal, something that creates more hurt than almost anything else we experience as humans. Why? Because we've mixed up what love looks like with what love actually is. We've settled for a fake version instead of the real deal. So let me ask you something. When did you first realize that love came with rules? Really think about it. Go back in your memory. Maybe you were just a kid and you noticed that people were nicer to you when you behaved well, when you tidied up your space, when you came home with good grades. Maybe you figured out that people smiled more when you made yourself helpful, when you stayed quiet, when you molded yourself into whatever shape they wanted. Or maybe it happened later, in those first relationships, when you realized that keeping someone interested meant you had to put on a show. You had to be entertaining enough, good-looking enough, accomplished enough. And somewhere in those experiences, something got planted inside you. The idea that love is something you have to work for, something you only get when you meet certain standards. But here's what happens with that idea. Once it takes hold, it grows into this whole garden of confusion. And by the time you hit your 30s or 40s, once you've lived long enough to see what's really going on, you start to understand what a weird game you've been playing all this time. You've been giving away parts of who you really are just to get tiny bits of affection back. You've been acting in a play where the crowd watching is never happy with your performance. And the tiredness of it all, oh, the absolute exhaustion. Let me tell you what happens when you build love on conditions and requirements. You end up with something that looks like love, that sounds like love, that might even feel like love for a period of time, but underneath the surface it's actually something completely different. It's a deal, an exchange. You give me what I want, and I'll give you what you want. You become this for me, and I'll become that for you. And for a while, maybe even for many years, the deal works. Everything balances out. Each person delivers what they promised. And so the whole thing stays standing. But here's what nobody warns you about these deals. They are fragile as glass. They only work if both people keep meeting the requirements forever. And life, being what it is, has this way of making that impossible. You get older, you transform, your situation changes. The person you were when you made that agreement isn't who you are anymore. And the same thing happens to the other person. The whole structure is built on quicksand. You see, because it assumes human beings can stay frozen, predictable, dependable like a legal document needs them to be. But we're not robots. We're like flowing water. We're like changing weather. We're always moving, always becoming something different from what we used to be. So what happens when someone can't hold up their end anymore? When you can't deliver what was expected? Maybe you lose your income and suddenly the stability you brought to the table disappears. Maybe sickness arrives and the energy or attractiveness that first drew them in starts fading. Maybe you just get worn out from pretending to be someone you're not. And in that moment when the costume falls off, the warmth you believed was love shows itself as something else entirely. Maybe duty, maybe just routine, or even worse, nothing at all. Just emptiness where tenderness used to live. I've watched this happen so many times. A person who has poured decades into someone, who has been loyal, committed, always there, only to wake up one morning and realize they were never actually seen for who they are. They were useful. They were needed. But were they loved? Not in the way the human spirit needs. Not in the way that feeds and sustains you. And the hurt of realizing that, it's like finding out you've been talking to an empty room your whole life. You thought somebody was listening, but all you heard was your own voice bouncing back. This is what conditional love does. It's not intentionally cruel. Most people aren't trying to cause pain. But when love gets built on what you accomplish instead of who you are, it's bound to let you down. Because what you accomplish will shift. What you bring to the table will eventually run dry. And if that's the only reason you're valued, then when it disappears, the love goes with it. Now, let me make something very clear. I'm not saying relationships shouldn't involve giving to each other. Of course they should. Love naturally shows itself through caring, through serving, through paying attention to what the other person needs. But there's a huge difference between giving that comes from having plenty inside you and giving that comes from being afraid. One is what spills over from a heart that can't contain itself. The other is desperately trying to lock down affection, to stop someone from walking away, to show you have value. You can feel the difference, right? When someone gives to you from a full heart, there's something light about it, something joyful. They are not keeping a mental scorecard. They are not sitting there waiting for you to give back the exact same amount. They give because the act of giving itself feels good. Because doing it brings them happiness. But when someone gives from an empty place, from desperation, there's a heaviness to it, like a weight pressing down. You can sense the invisible threads attached, the silent expectation that now you owe them something. And that's not love. That's a business transaction, wearing love's clothing. The sad part is that most of us got trained from childhood to make these transactions. We learned early that love was something you had to earn, that affection was a prize for being good. And so we go through life trying to be good enough, trying to meet all the conditions, trying to lock down the love we desperately want. But it never really works, does it? Because even when we meet every condition, even when we do everything perfectly, there's still this nagging feeling that nobody truly knows us. That if the mask ever came off, if they saw who we really are underneath all the acting, they'd walk away. And so we become trapped by our own choices. We lock ourselves into relationships where we can't be honest, can't show weakness, can't ever relax. We have to stay switched on all the time, always performing, always keeping up the illusion that we're the person they said yes to loving. And the exhaustion of it, year after year, decade after decade, it drains every drop of life from you. You become empty inside, just going through the motions, wondering why something that's supposed to bring happiness has become such a heavy burden. Let me tell you something about genuine love. The kind that doesn't turn into bitterness and anger. It's not a bargain. It's not a contract. It's not me giving you this so you give me that. Real love is freedom. It's the freedom to be exactly yourself without faking anything, without putting on any show. It's being seen, truly seen with all your chaos and flaws, and still being treasured. Not because you earned it, but just because you're alive and you're here. But here's the problem, and it's a significant one. You can't accept this kind of love until you've figured out how to give it to yourself first. This is the big secret nobody wants to accept. We all want to believe the perfect person will show up and fill the empty hole inside us. That their love will fix our damage, prove we matter, make us complete. But it doesn't happen that way. It can't happen that way. Because a heart that's starving for love will always, in some hidden corner, turn even the most generous actions into transactions. It will give, yes, but it'll be watching, counting, waiting for something back. Think about it. When you're desperate to be loved, every kind thing you do carries a hidden message. Love me back. Notice me. Pick me. And the other person, even if they don't know it consciously, feels that pressure. They feel the expectation, the hunger, the demand. And it creates a weight that genuine affection can't survive under. Because real love, the lasting kind, needs breathing room. It needs the freedom to give or not give, to stay or leave, without the whole relationship being held hostage to it. So the question becomes, how do you stop being desperate for love? How do you fill yourself so completely that you don't need another person to prove you exist? And the answer is both straightforward and hard. You have to make peace with yourself. Not in some surface-level positive thinking way, but in the deep sense of truly accepting your whole being, every single part. The parts you're proud of and the parts you keep hidden. The wins and the losses. The beautiful pieces and the broken ones. All of it. This isn't easy. Our entire society is designed around the idea that you should always be improving, always becoming something other than what you are. Better, tougher, more successful, more attractive. And hidden in that message is the suggestion that who you are right now isn't good enough. But what if you already are enough? What if you always have been enough? Not because you've achieved anything or earned anything, but simply because you're here, because you exist. Something breathed life into you. Call it whatever feels right to you. God, the universe, the great mystery, existence itself. Whatever word you choose, it brought you into being without asking your permission first, without making you prove you were worthy. You were loved into existence before you could do a single thing to deserve it. The sun comes up for you every morning without checking your accomplishments. The air fills your lungs without demanding payment. You're held by forces so enormous and so giving that your very existence proves unconditional love is real. Now, if you can really see this, if you can let it sink all the way in, something changes inside you. You start to understand that you're not a beggar standing outside life's door hoping for scraps. You're already inside at the table. You're already held, already loved, already complete. And from that place of being full, you can give love without any strings attached. Not because you're trying to earn something, but because love is just who you are. It's what naturally flows out of you when you're not busy protecting yourself, not busy trying to get something back. When two people come together from this place of fullness, something entirely different takes shape. There's no desperation, no grabbing, no constant worry about whether the other person will leave. Instead, there's this ease, this recognition. They don't need each other to feel whole. So they are free to choose each other simply because they genuinely want to. And that choice, made freely without pressure or need, is worth more than 1,000 desperate promises. This is the love that doesn't keep count. The love that doesn't turn cold when you fail to meet expectations. The love that sees you on your absolute worst day and doesn't pull back, because it was never about your performance to begin with. It was about the simple fact that you exist. And your existence can't fail. It can't let anyone down. It just is. But let me be real with you. This kind of love is uncommon. Not because it's hard to do, but because most people never stop running long enough to discover it. They are too busy searching outside themselves for something that can only be found within. They jump from person to person, relationship to relationship, always hoping the next one will be different. Always believing that if they just find the right person, everything will finally fall into place. But it won't. Because the issue was never about finding the right person. The issue was being the wrong version of yourself. You can't connect with someone at a depth you haven't reached in yourself. If you've never sat quietly with your own thoughts, your own fears, your own pain, then you'll never truly sit with someone else's either. If you've never forgiven yourself for being imperfect, you'll never forgive them. If you've never learned to be alone without feeling hollow, you'll turn every relationship into something to keep you from drowning. And people can sense that. They can feel when they are being used to plug a hole, and it exhausts them. So before you go searching for love, before you decide you need someone to make you whole, try this. Sit with yourself. Really sit with yourself. Not with distractions, not with screens or noise or endless activity, but just you and your own presence. And notice what rises up. Notice the discomfort, the restlessness, the voice telling you that you should be doing something more productive. And then notice that voice isn't who you are. It's just a thought, a habit, a pattern you picked up somewhere. Underneath all that noise, there's quiet. And in that quiet, there's a kind of peace. Not the peace of having all the answers, but the peace of not needing them. The peace of simply being alive, breathing in and out, existing in this moment without needing it to be anything other than what it is. When you touch that peace, even for just a moment, something in you softens. And from that softness, love becomes possible. Not the grasping, desperate kind, but the kind that gives without tracking everything. The kind that stays or goes based not on duty, but on genuine caring. And here's what's beautiful. When you find that peace inside yourself, you start recognizing it in other people. You can spot the ones who are also drinking from their own well, who don't need you to rescue them or complete them. And when two such people meet, it's not about saving each other. It's about two whole people choosing to walk side by side for a while, sharing what they have, learning from each other, growing together, but never losing themselves along the way. This is the great irony. The moment you stop needing love, you become able to receive it. The moment you stop chasing it, it finds you. Because you're no longer approaching people like a beggar with your hand out, hoping they'll drop something into it. You're approaching them as someone who already has enough, who has something to offer, who can give freely because giving doesn't make you less. And people respond to that. They are attracted to it because it's so rare to meet someone who isn't constantly taking, who isn't draining your energy, who isn't using the relationship to fill some bottomless pit inside them. So if you want to love and be loved, start here. Stop trying to earn it. Stop trying to prove you deserve it. Stop performing and pretending and twisting yourself into shapes you think others want. Instead, turn inward. Make peace with the person you discover there. Not by fixing everything that seems wrong, but by accepting that nothing actually needs fixing. You're not a project to work on. You're not damaged. You're not incomplete. You're a living, breathing expression of life itself. And that's enough. It's always been enough. From that place, love isn't something you chase or something you earn. It's something you are. It flows from you naturally like light from the sun. And whether others give it back becomes less critical because you're not giving to get something in return. You're giving because giving is just your nature. And in that giving, you discover something amazing. You discover that you were never empty to begin with. You were always full. You were always loved. You just forgot it for a while. And when you remember, when you really see it, everything shifts. You stop begging for crumbs and realize you're already sitting at the feast. You stop searching for someone to complete you and realize you were never half a person in the first place. You stop trying to earn love and simply become it. And from that becoming, from that overflow, you meet others not as empty containers hoping to be filled, but as rivers meeting rivers, each full from their own source, joining together not out of need, but out of the pure joy of flowing together for a time. This is the love that doesn't fade when circumstances shift. This is the love that doesn't turn bitter when expectations aren't met. This is the love that sees you at your absolute worst and doesn't turn away, because it was never built on your best behavior. It was built on the recognition that beneath all the masks, all the roles, all the stories you tell yourself, you are the same life, the same consciousness, the same being that moves through everything and everyone. And how can life stop loving itself? So here's what I'm asking you to do. Stop looking for love out there. Stop trying to become worthy of it. Stop performing and pretending. Instead, go inward. Meet yourself fully. Accept yourself completely. Not because you're perfect, but because perfection was never the requirement. And from that acceptance, from that peace, watch what happens. Watch how love starts flowing from you without any effort. Watch how the right people show up in your life, not to rescue you, but to dance with you. Watch how life itself starts feeling like the embrace you've been seeking all along. The love you want isn't out there waiting to be discovered. It's right here inside you, waiting to be recognized. And once you see it, once you really know it, you'll understand that you were never unloved, never alone, never incomplete. You were always held by something so vast, so generous, so utterly without conditions that you couldn't see it because you were looking for something smaller, something you could grab and control. But real love can't be grabbed. It can only be surrendered to. And in that surrender, you discover that you are it. You always were, and you always will be. Subscribe and hit the bell icon for more videos.